Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Recovery Snack by Recovery Concepts. I'm Chris. First and foremost, out there, happy Mother's Day to everybody. Um, I hope it's a good Mother's Day um, for all. These things come at us a lot of different ways. Sometimes, some of us in stages of life, our parents aren't there anymore, or whatever, or we're still working on, getting our relationship back with such people. A lot of different caveats, a lot of different avenues. But happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there and the ones that do mom jobs. And happy birthday to me. Today is my birthday. So kind of excited and happy about that. My wife and my best friend, I have two best friends. One of my best friends, uh, my wife took me out and he joined last night. Had a very nice dinner downtown Roanoke. Amazing dessert, and looking forward to having a productive slash restful kind of day, man. Working in the garden, chasing the chickens around, doing some yard work, the usual stuff. But extremely grateful to have another birthday. So anyway, thank you all for joining. Happy Mother's Day. Little side note, happy birthday to me. I'm kind of excited. So let's dive in here and see what we got going on. Sunday, May 10th, man. Just like that. Boom, bam. A third of May is gone. Stuff happens quick. Life happens quick, man. Trying to hang on to it, especially when it gets bucking a little bit. Quote today by Margaret Bonanno. Bonanno. Bonnano. I'm sure I'm butchering that, but that's who it is. It is only possible to live happily ever after on a day to day basis. It is said the moment is our link to eternity, to the divine. Recovery gives us many messages about living in the moment. As easy does it, one day at a time, and just for today. If y'all in recovery, you may have heard those before. As active addicts, we use chemicals to alter our relationship with the present. By getting high, we live disconnected from the moment. Now we are learning that the present moment is our best point of influence. In this moment, we can choose to act from our values or to betray our values. By living in the moment, we stay connected to our higher power and our values. With each new day of staying sober and living a life of principles before personality, we increase our chance of doing the same thing in the future. Prayer for the day. Higher power. You are found in every moment. Help me seek you out in my everyday life, not in the past or in the future, but now. Today's action. Today I will practice living in the moment. If I find myself drifting into the past or the future, I will come back to the moment. Uh, I love the little slogans, as cliche as they are. Easy does it one day at a time, just for today. Um, that helps in ringing in my mind. It helps me remember what I've got. In active addiction, I spend a whole lot of time worried about the future, a whole lot of time regretting the past, and way more times than not, that affected the current situation of my presence. I couldn't get comfortable today. Addiction is a vicious cycle, man, for me. Um, and I've heard others have had similar experiences. I couldn't get past a whole lot that I'd done, and I was worried so much about how it was going to be that I couldn't get into enjoying the day. And the alcohol and the drugs used to give me a sense of serenity and peace and solace and calm, if you will. But that shit left, man, when true medicinal addiction set in. It wasn't anymore about, you've worked hard and you deserve a break and, get you, six pack and a little recreational, something another, cocaine, something another, and kick back and just chill a little bit, like cocaine ever made me chill. But that whole thought process goes away when you start having, or I started having, uh, my body acknowledged the substances weren't there, and I had obvious symptoms, and that got scary. but it didn't scare me enough to get out of, stop it, man. I just hit everything a little bit deeper for, 10 plus years, running around trying to make sure my body was fed of these chemicals that it now demanded and needed. No longer wanted. We were past that point, but demanded and needed. It's important for me to stay in today. It makes the life's biggest mountains. I have found my experience with it is it's made life's biggest mountains surmountable, as you go walking along. Somebody lays something down in front of you that looks too big of a challenge. I heard somewhere out there running around one point in time that, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. It doesn't seem possible until a year and a half later, or whatever your time frame is, you have finally chipped away and done the things that needed to be done to put that task, that worry, that concern, that thing that needed addressed behind you. And a lot of us, that's relevant to a lot of us in recovery because we don't typically show up on winning streaks. We don't show up on winning streaks. We show up when things are bad enough that we can't deny that there's an issue. So we're in drug court. We're in we've got time hanging over us. We've got community service. We've got probation. We've got all these things that sometimes look insurmountable or whatever. We've got somebody telling us in theory that the rest of our lives we can no longer drink and drug. That's a big one right there. That's a big one. If I could not get centered in today and keep myself in today and worry about what I'm trying to do today, there was no way in the world I would have ever been able to make it to this point. A friend of mine named Jeff turned me on to the concept of 24-hour living. But when I last went to rehab and really wanted to change, I was just all out of ideas of how to make it different. So I was really listening up and really trying. Somebody laid it on me that I couldn't drink and drug forever. And I threw in the towel, man. I threw in the towel because I sat and I thought about it and I didn't believe it was possible. And a buddy of mine named Jeff come along and told me about the 24-hour living concept. And if I could just concentrate on doing this today, that the days would add up over time. And he made that, he passed that to me in a way that I could absorb it, which I believe, is strong communication, an addict to an addict, an alcoholic to an alcoholic, a person with these problems to a person with these problems. And I could see it in his eyes. He knew what he was talking about. This guy walked around and smiled all the time. And when he talked about his past a little bit, not war stories, but how things were and how it went down, he was talking about my life in a lot of situations. And I didn't even know this man. There was something about him that was believable. And I felt that, there were pieces of what I was going through that I believed he lived in, but he looked and felt different than I thought. I thought he looked and felt different than I definitely felt. And I don't know what the hell I looked like. It was a train wreck. But that concept of keeping it just in today, and that's hard sometimes when you're given things that are very challenging, sickness or loss or grief or whatever the case may be. The wreckage of our past showing up, we got a lot of things we got to do to try to correct stuff, man. But if you keep in the concept of keeping it in today, and sure, work on that task, take a step today. Don't sit idle. I believe in the 2 R's, man. When I wake up in the morning, I do this stuff. The reason that I do this stuff is I believe to my core, I have proven to myself in the past that I am moving from the morning forward toward my recovery or a relapse. There is not a whole lot of room for Chris just to sit still in the middle and everything. I'm just going to live here. That don't work for me. Maybe if it works for somebody else, that's great. I don't wish this stuff on anyone. But for me, I have to make a move toward my recovery, because if I don't, I'm lacking. And these days it's not as vigorous as it used to be. The multiple meetings in a day, the talking to my sponsor 3 times, the continuous prayer, trying to get this stuff out of my head to where I could just try to get through the day without drugs and alcohol. It ain't like that no more. It's been a little while. Thank you, Lord. Today it is maintenance. You run your car 3,000 miles, you change the oil. If you don't, you got a problem with your car. I get up in the morning, I do my stuff, I get centered in, I talk to my God, I just thank him for waking me and read my readings. I send out a few texts, I get a few texts, and I get myself centered in the morning very early, and to help me remember I'm an addict and I'm an alcoholic, and I need to be, I don't need to be, too awful ingrained in worry, look around and everything. But I need to be on guard, for my old behaviors, and I need to just keep an eye on what I'm feeling like as I'm going through the day, and make sure that I do, good behavior, and things that are good for me. So I'm rambling. Appreciate y'all joining. Please come on back tomorrow, Lord willing. We'll make a Monday out of it. I hope your all's Mother's Day out there is spectacular. And I'm going to go enjoy my birthday. Please subscribe, share, like, share, move this thing around, most specifically on social media. If you're moved to do so, I would appreciate it. Try to get this thing out and build it up a little bit. Y'all, again, have a blessed day, a great Mother's Day, and hope to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.